Let's join Heather and our school psychologist, Lathryelle as they talk about this week's high leverage practice.
Welcome to Little Bits of TLC, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of education. Join our host, Heather Volchko, as this season we focus on high leverage practices, HLPs. Each episode will examine a different HLP, essential strategies designed to enhance teaching and improve outcomes across various educational settings. These practices focus on collaboration, assessment, social, emotional, behavioral support, and instruction, benefiting all K-12 students. I hope you're ready to be both challenged and inspired, because this season is all about mastering the HLPs. This is Little Bits of TLC. Looking to become an RBT in a school setting? Or just want training that actually fits the work you do every day? Our school-based RBT 40-hour training was built just for that. This course meets the 2026 training requirements and was created by real school-based specialists who know what the job actually looks like. It's engaging, up-to-date, and grounded in the classroom, not a clinic. With cross-training connections for para-educators and study tools to help you pass your exam with confidence, this training goes way beyond checking a box. Led by Heather Volchko, Candace McCoy, and Manny Wacius, and featuring Dr. Richard Van Acker, it's the first course of its kind that we know of, and we're proud of that. Head to university.thresholdlearning.org to enroll and get started. Let us teach you the basics, get you thriving, and move you onward through your journey to becoming an RBT today.
Teachers use a variety of instructional strategies that result in active student responding. Active student engagement is critical to academic success. Teachers must initially build positive student-teacher relationships to foster engagement and motivate reluctant learners. They promote engagement by connecting learning to students' lives, for example, knowing students' academic and cultural backgrounds, and using a variety of teacher-led, like choral, responding, and response cards, peer-assisted, such as cooperative learning and peer tutoring, student-regulated, for example, self-management, and technology-supported strategies shown empirically to increase student engagement. They monitor student engagement and provide positive and constructive feedback to sustain performance.
This week, we're talking about high leverage practice number 18, using strategies to promote active student engagement. And Lathryelle, I know you have done this in your practice and coaching and supporting other professionals to be able to pull these students into engagement in ways that maybe their professionals don't always see. So for you, what does this practice look like?
I think initially you really have to go in with the mindset that they have their own personality. You have to know what they like, what they don't like, preferences and things like that. And you have to meet them where they are. I think that's like the very first step. It's that same type of respect that you would want. You want to give that to them as well. So you meet them where they're at, you take some of their preferences and then just engage them like any other person. And then once you start that engagement, you'll see they start to open up to you. Even if they're nonverbal, they'll learn to trust you because they feel that you know who they are, or at least are trying to know who they are. And once you start doing those things, the engagement piece is going to just come naturally. They're going to become part of your day. And if they're not there, they're absent or something else is going on, you're not there, you're going to see that they miss you and you miss them. So it's just like any other relationship that you have with any other person. So I think if you go in with that mindset, that's half the battle right there. The other thing is you want to incorporate what they do every day into their goals as well. You don't want to make it seem like, oh, this is your goal. This we have to do this, get it done, and make it so rigid that they don't want to do anything outside of that. Just like all of us, we want things to be creative, we want things to be interesting. So we change it up every now and then. So that's some of the things you have to do when you work with your students. So it doesn't matter what level they're on, you want to have fun. Again, a lot of them will still have that kid mindset. Even if they're 25, 30 years old, they still want to have fun just like we do. And I think that's where you have to start with them. You know, all the things that they like, we like, and vice versa. So I think that engagement and having that mentality really does help with seeing that progress overall.
I love that you're just see them as humans, right? Yeah, sure, they come with a whole lot of complexities, or they may not interact with us in the way that we would anticipate maybe, our peers to interact with us, but that's okay, right? I appreciate also like kind of that creativity that you're almost alluding to. And it's nice because a lot of these classrooms that I work in, there either a lot of worksheets or like Velcro folder work or some like repetitive tasks. And you're like, mix it up, make it interesting, get them to engage in those ways. Like walk me through that. How have you walked with your professionals, like your other fellow practitioners to help them see kind of what's hidden behind what maybe those students aren't giving them so that they know like, oh, I can try some other things and I'll look a different version of this student shows up. Especially like I'm thinking nonverbal students or students that are kind of aloof or appear like they're not really there in that moment. How do you work with those practitioners to really pull that student into what's going on in the classroom?
I think you always have to be aware. One of the things that, I guess I've naturally learned how to do this, but I'm always kind of watching the room.
Mm.
So even if I'm having a conversation with a staff and it seems like I'm not really paying attention to a student, the students are paying attention to me. So sometimes, like, you have a conversation about the weekend or something like that because you just saw the teacher, and you'll see the student kind of like looking at you like, oh, they're interested too. And that's the perfect time for you to say, hey, did you do anything over the weekend? And even if they're nonverbal, they might smile because maybe they did do something over the weekend. Or you might end up, speaking to the parent and find out that they did something great over the weekend. And that just kind of reminded them that they did something really cool or they just like hearing what you did, So it's just one of those things that you have to be aware of that not only are you engaging with other people in the classroom, but you also still engaging with the kids. Like they say, kids are always watching. They watch what you do and listen to more than what you say, So you have to be aware of that. And I think when you're working with other people that you have to kind of be mindful that this student is watching us. And when I do trainings, I tell them they're always watching us. I always say that over and over again. They're watching, they're listening, they see how we interact with each other, and they're going to mimic that. And their energy is going to change when certain people walk into the room because they don't engage with them. But you just have to, again, treat them like they're everyone else, know that they're watching, and try to just kind of incorporate them into your everyday conversations and just enjoy. I mean, we're all here together. We're all here gonna be here for 7 or 8 hours a day, and we have to be enjoyable. It has to be something that you want to come back to every day. And if you want to come back and you make the classroom enjoyable, your kids gonna want to come back, and they're gonna be more engaged with you and willing to do some of those tasks that are not their favorite because you also gonna do some of the things that they like to do. And even if you don't like it, they're gonna do it because they like you, because you treat them, in a positive way, and you engage with them. That's in a great way that they feel like they're a part of what's going on in their world. So you just have to keep all those little things in your mind. And it sounds like a lot, but it's what we do every day. When you work with a typical child or your own kids or your nieces and nephews, you just automatically do that. And it doesn't change once you go into the classroom when you're working with, certain students.
But you're calling so forward this aspect of mutual respect that it's all rooted in trust, right? Like, and part of what you're just saying is like, just make it attractive, right? Like, be who you would want to be hanging out with, and they're going to get drawn in regardless of kind of that functional ability or that capacity. They can still engage in some way. So, what does this look like? A lot of the examples you're like having conversations and, in like engaging them to join that conversation, but there's also times where we're trying to get them to do academic work or work skills or like all of these other things too. How do we pull them into that when it's maybe less naturally engaging? Like, how do we really get them to step into developing those skills too?
Well, you kind of fall back on the skill sets that you taught in the school. When you're getting your degree, how to do the discrete trials and things like that. Really working with them on, okay, we're going to do this first, then this next, that type of thing. So you work in all those different strategies. And sometimes you just have to say, we got to do the hard work first, and then we can, get our break. Or, like I say, play hard, you work hard too. So you got to do both of those, and that's a part of life. So you have to get them to engage with you, even with the things that they don't like, and you have to remind them and give them encouragement, just like things that we don't like to do, and we get encouragement to complete it. It may not be that hard, but we just don't want to do it, and that's the same mindset you have with a lot of the students that you work with. It may be hard for them. It might seem very simple to us, but it's hard to them, and we have to take that into consideration when we're working with them and help them get through that. These are skill sets that they're learning. Remember, they're kids. They just got here. So you got to teach them how to work and use skill sets that'll help them progress through that and do the things that they may not want to do or do the skill sets that they need to learn. And you just have to kind of work with them where they're at and just move on from there. Again, there's going to be some great days. There's going to be some really bad days, and there's going to be some days where both of y'all want to give up. But you come back the next day and you try to do a clean slate. Sometimes it's hard, but you want to do that clean slate and start all over again because every day is a new day.
I love that. Like, it's just sometimes people make this high leverage practice maybe a bit more complicated than what it needs to be, right? We can talk about, explicit instruction. We can talk about all of these like different ways to use teacher led activities or to be able to, help them start to regulate their own engagement in different activities or that we bring in like peers of themselves or like around them, right? And there's all of these different strategies that are just they just exist to trap these students into participating in what it is that they're learning about. But how often in special ed are we literally just putting the hardest things in front of our students on the regular because we know what they struggle with and we know the skills they need to learn. And so we're constantly pushing that. Like so rarely in special ed do we get to just do things on maintenance, right? Just keep the skills that they already had. We're constantly challenging our students to do more and more and more. So like to be able to engage and just have fun with it, then we can do hard things. We can push them and they can step in, rise to that occasion. But it's not just like horrible all the
Mhm.
time.
Right. And so I think the mentality I feel over the years have changed from that. I think we just overall with education, we want our kids to do more in the same amount of time that, we wanted them to do 10 years ago. And so we're also doing that with special education students, no matter what level they're on. So it's hard to get out of that. We need more, more, more in less time. But you also have to remember they're kids, they're learning. Play is learning. So you can also incorporate those hard things into play and allow them to recognize that they can do some hard things. And you may not do it the first time, but you may do the second or the third. Just keep working on it and it'll get better. You don't necessarily have to explicitly say that because you want to keep it fun for them, but you want to make sure that they kind of understand, especially when they actually make that goal, they achieve that goal, that, oh my gosh, look what you did. You want to be excited about it. So they're excited about it. And the more excited they are about it, they're going to remember and they're gonna wanna engage. They're gonna wanna try those things because they know in the past, I know that my teacher, she worked with me, she did what she needed to do. I was able to, reach this goal. I was able to do something I didn't think I was able to do. Even if they don't say it, you'll see that in the energy and the engagement that they have with you. And you'll see that when you try other hard things, they're gonna trust you and trust that you are gonna push them to a point where they go a little bit out their comfort zone, but it's not to the point where it's painful or it's hurtful. They're going to trust that you are going to protect them in the end and that you are the person that's going to teach them what they need. And it's going to be fun on top of that. So just kind of keep that and it's part of your mindset when you're working with your students.
Thank you. So before we sign off here, I want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about maybe what this high leverage practice is not. I know sometimes people think that they're getting engagement, maybe just because they're getting work productivity out of their students. But just because someone is completing a task doesn't always mean that they're actually engaged in what's going on. So, from all of your work in this population, what are some of those examples where a practitioner might think, like, oh, I've got good student engagement, and maybe you would disagree?
If your classroom is not energetic, I've walked into classroom and you would think there was no students in there because it's quiet. And it's not like they're working, but they're just kind of everybody's in their own little world, in their own little zone. And it doesn't sound like, especially with younger kids, it doesn't sound like there's kids in the classroom. Things seem very sterile. I know people are very much into environments and things like that. And there's a time and a place for different environments. So if you really want the kids to focus and do things like that, yes, a nice quiet environment, not too much light, not overstimulating, that's great. But sometimes kids need that burst of energy. They need that the engagement. They need to be kids. They need to play. Everything doesn't have to be electronic. Everything doesn't have to be, because they're lower functioning, everything is kid-like all the time, or baby type stuff. So when you walk into the classroom, you want to see a variety of different things. So if you walk in and every day at different times. It's the same type of feel when you walk in, and it's not like there's no real change throughout the day. Either it's always like a party central versus it's always like a library and it's study hall all the time. You have to start thinking about, okay, how do we change this up? Give them some variety, give them a chance to feel like there's changes happening in the day. Nobody likes to do the same thing over and over again. They like to change up every now and then, even in really, really small steps. But you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of what your students are giving back to you. If you feel like you're working too hard with your students and you're exhausted at the end of the day, it might be something that you need to look at your classroom to see what's exhausting. Is the kid just having a bad day? You're having a bad day? Other staff are just having a bad day? Or is it something that's consistently going on every single day to the point where this is now your norm? And do you really want this to be your norm to be exhausted every day? So something has to change. And so when you talk to practitioners, teachers, even parents, you listen to what they're going through, you listen to what strategies work, don't work, and then you want to see what you can do and what you can pull from that to be the most positive that you can implement into your classroom. That's within your own capacity to do for students. You don't want to do something that's if you're not an outgoingly, over the top type of person, you may not want to do outgoing over the top stuff every day. But you also need to step out your comfort zone, like we're asking the students to step out their comfort zone and actually do things that are fun, do things that are calm, do things that are realistic, do things that are outside the comfort zone, like I said before, and just give them that variety because, that's the spice of life, and even in class, you want to have that. And plus, it keeps students going back to being engaged. They want to come back and be excited about school and keeping things kind of interesting every day helps that with kids coming back and wanting to be engaged because they like those type of things. So you got to look at how you feel on a daily basis, how your students are reacting, how your classroom feels, and get some feedback. Get feedback from the parents. Sometimes parents know when a kid had a good day versus a bad day. Get feedback from the admin, other staff that are working in your room, and get feedback from yourself as well as the students and see how they react if something works in the classroom. Just keep it going. If it doesn't work, don't be afraid to switch.
I hear everything you're saying, and the word that keeps coming to mind is connection, right? Like
Mhm.
you're connecting with your students so that they then connect with you. They would connect with their peers. You're connecting with your colleagues, connecting with their families so their family can connect better with them. Like I'm just hearing that like concept of connection is really being that foundation from which all engagement can grow, which makes a ton of sense to me. I just don't think as an educator who's worked primarily in high incidence populations, a lot of times we talk about engagement as instructional strategies. And you're right, it is so firmly rooted in just genuine connection. So thank you for calling that forward as part of this conversation. I really appreciate it. Thank you for spending your time with me today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Working with students who need long term individualized support? Project Base is a 4-strand project designed for educators in self contained classrooms serving students with low incident needs. You'll get step by step guidance on building a program that focuses on communication, daily routines, and real world skill building. From setting up the classroom environment to designing personalized plans, this course helps you create a space where your students can grow and succeed in school and into adulthood. Led by Chris Zielinski and Carly Dietz, Project Base offers practical strategies, case studies, and planning tools to help you confidently support your students every step of the way. If you're ready to strengthen your program and build something that lasts, this project is your next step. If you're supporting emotional or behavioral needs in general ed or resource classrooms, Project Thrive helps you keep learning on track. And if you're in a therapeutic or alternative setting, building something from the ground up, Project Onward offers the structure and tools to do it well. Head to university.thresholdlearning.org to meet your team and begin building your home base today.
Student engagement is crucial for achieving positive academic outcomes. The link between engagement and academic success is robust and well documented. Engaged students are not just more likely to excel academically, they are also more likely to develop a genuine interest in learning and a sense of autonomy. Teachers often employ a range of engagement strategies to motivate students and foster personal connections. These might include collaborative activities like peer assisted learning or individualized approaches such as personalized feedback. Beyond just getting students to participate, effective strategies help students see the relevance of their education and foster a sense of belonging. Beyond just getting students to participate, effective strategies help students see the relevance of their education and foster a sense of belonging. Engagement itself is a multifaceted concept encompassing cognitive, affective, and behavioral dimensions. Behavioral engagement involves students' participation in activities. Effective engagement covers their feelings of belonging and the value they place on school. And cognitive engagement refers to their persistence and effort, especially on challenging tasks. These dimensions are interrelated and are significantly influenced by teachers' actions and instructional practices. The level of student engagement directly impacts academic achievement and the likelihood of graduating from high school. This is especially important for students with disabilities who, when included in general education settings, may not always engage as actively as their peers. Such students are at a higher risk of dropping out, while engagement being a key predictor of high school completion. To mitigate these risks, it's vital for special education teachers to help students set personal goals, explicitly teach and model engagement behaviors, and build strong relationships from the start. By strategically integrating engagement strategies into daily instruction, educators can address many of the challenges that threaten students' academic success and overall well being. Maintaining high levels of student engagement can be one of the more demanding aspects of teaching, yet it's crucial for fostering both academic achievement and student satisfaction. An effective special educator plays a pivotal role in crafting and delivering instruction that keeps students engaged and progressing towards their academic and behavioral goals. There's no single path to achieving this, but engagement often flourishes when the learning activities are suitably challenging, when students aren't distracted by their surroundings, and when they have access to supportive strategies that aid their success. A strong approach begins with a blend of high leverage practices, or HLPs, and evidence based strategies. For instance, incorporating explicit instruction, HLP 16, and providing high quality feedback, HLPs 8 and 22, within a well organized, respectful learning environment, HLP 7, sets a solid foundation for engagement. Furthermore, systematically designing instruction to meet individual learning goals, HLP 11, and integrating relevant adaptations like technology supports, HLP 19, and scaffolds, HLP 15, can significantly enhance student engagement. By combining these practices thoughtfully, educators can create a learning environment that not only captures students' interest, but also supports their ongoing development. Teachers who excel at promoting active student engagement understand that building strong, positive relationships with their students is key. They tailor their approaches to fit individual needs, often incorporating technology like augmentative communication devices or visual supports to enhance engagement. These educators are adept at using a range of research backed strategies to keep students actively involved. This might include fluency building activities, guided notes, class wide peer tutoring, and various digital tools. They ensure that students have ample opportunities to respond and interact with their peers, fostering a dynamic and participatory learning environment. Feedback plays a crucial role in this process. Effective teachers provide detailed, academic, and behavior specific feedback, helping students understand how they're meeting expectations and motivating them to maintain or improve their performance. Additionally, they embrace the energy of a classroom engaged in group activities, encouraging what might be termed good noise, that lively, productive buzz of students collaborating and learning. By integrating games, rewards, and consistent praise, they create a vibrant atmosphere that supports active and enthusiastic participation. To effectively support teachers in fostering active student engagement, school leaders should focus on various key areas. Start by providing educators with robust professional development and coaching that covers a broad spectrum of strategies aimed at enhancing student involvement. Observing how these strategies are put into practice allows leaders to offer valuable feedback, highlighting both strengths and areas for improvement. When teachers face challenges in applying these strategies, it's crucial to work collaboratively with them to pinpoint specific obstacles and provide targeted support. Encourage educators to think creatively and explore innovative methods for engaging students while also staying updated on new developments in engagement strategies to keep the teaching approach fresh and effective. In essence, fostering a culture of active engagement requires a commitment to ongoing learning, flexibility, and a proactive approach to problem solving and support. Research consistently shows that student engagement plays a crucial role in academic success, particularly for those at risk of poor learning outcomes. While most studies focus on general education, we know that students with disabilities are even more vulnerable to disengagement and dropout. This risk is significant because disengagement often leads to negative educational and life outcomes. For educators, especially those in inclusive classrooms, recognizing the signs of disengagement and addressing them promptly is essential. Teachers must implement a variety of strategies to keep these students engaged. Early, positive, and consistent engagement strategies are key to fostering both academic and behavioral success. This proactive approach helps create a supportive environment that can significantly improve outcomes for students with disabilities. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Join us next week when Heather sits down with our board certified behavior analyst, Alex Grosso, to talk about our next high leverage practice.
Hey, before you jump back into your busy life, consider dropping a like and follow at Threshold Learning TLC on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you like our show, share the podcast with your colleagues. A personal recommendation is by far the best way to promote the podcast. Let them know that they can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that they catch their podcast. Just be sure to leave a rating and review on your favorite platform. You can email us at info@thresholdlearning.org. We always enjoy connecting with fellow educators and champions for educational justice. You can find everything you're looking for at thresholdlearning.org. See you there. Attention educators pursuing behavior analysis certification and universities preparing them for success. Supervision with TLC offers 100% remote fieldwork supervision designed specifically for school-based professionals. Educators can earn their hours right in their schools without leaving their classroom, all while being supported by experienced BCBAs who understand the realities of education. With month-to-month scheduling, affordable rates, and both live video and asynchronous chat, our fieldwork supervision model is designed to fit into your life, not the other way around. We also invite universities to enhance their graduate programs in partnership with our team of practicing school-based BCBAs. Our fieldwork supervision model keeps students on track for certification by helping them connect their practice to all exam domains so that they can confidently pass the exam. Explore more at university.thresholdlearning.org/supervision or email supervision@thresholdlearning.org to connect. Supervision with TLC, where educators grow into behavior analysts.